The longest team up in the making. This has only been 2 months
Something like that.
to get your guys' schedules together.
Yeah,
Seriously.
It's notorious though with nurses. It's hard to get us all together.
Right.
Are you nights?
No, I'm days.
You're days.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
days. And you only work
You can-
2 days a week?
Yeah.
That's your microphone. Do you want me to make it higher?
Yeah, because I don't want to slouch. It'll make me slouch if I...
I feel it.
Fix that so I can go.
I'm trying to not slouch in
Up?
2021.
Do you want it higher than that?
I think that's okay.
Okay, because I can get the little.
Do I have to go like this?
a little bit?
Okay.
But notice
You don't
like,
have to slouch, just
I
lean.
tend to sit up. I tend to sit upright like this.
There, I can do
'cause
that.
It's easier on my neck. But
Yeah.
I can get you like the kid step box like we had for Paul.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
I forgot
like
about
he had
that.
the little box, and it was just.
Aw.
And he was still way
I know.
out here.
God. Well, because the mustache was getting in the way.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's such a good looking mustache.
He still
but-
has the
gonna
stash.
tickle the microphone.
Dude, it
Yeah.
took me 3 hours to get his levels up high enough to where I could balance it out with Leo and me.
Oh, funny.
And I'm like, Paul, I swear to God,
The entire time I was in the corner like,
talk louder. And he's like, I'm doing great. Like, damn it, Paul. Oh, it's funny. No, but seriously, like 2 months plus to get you guys like off on the same day,
Yeah,
not with a disaster.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Lots of
also,
disasters.
coincidentally, you're now both super soldiers.
we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
GPS tracking.
GPS
GPS
tracking, right?
tracking.
NSA has got you on lockdown. Like, we know where Big D is.
The
She's
biggest,
secure.
Microsoft owns me now.
we had this big conversation at work, all of us preparing for our second shot. Should we get it in the same arm or the different arm? And we said, well, no, the microchips don't work unless they're in the same arm because they're magnetic and they connect, and that's how it's activated.
So if you get it all in one
Exactly.
arm,
That's the best way to
then,
do it.
Okay.
then you're locked in.
Then
and
you're
then you
locked
don't
in.
just sit and make left-hand turns all the time. It's
Yes.
just
Right.
okay. All right,
Yeah,
gotcha.
exactly.
Yeah, that's so funny. All that. Oh my God, there's so much bullshit going around with that. It's
Oh, it's
ridiculous.
unbelievable.
Absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous. Which, not that I wanted to make the whole thing about that, but since it is like right on the forefront of, because you got your second one 2 days ago, 3 days ago.
Saturday.
Saturday,
Yeah, and
which
today's
I don't know
Monday.
what day is today. Today's Monday, so 2 days ago, and you were
Thursday.
So
Yeah.
you're 4 days in.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right in. The mRNA COVID Pfizer
Pfizer.
vaccine. Do either of you have a sudden urge to eat human brains?
Not yet.
Yes!
Not yet.
Oh my gosh. I wanted to like kill my babies and eat their brains.
I told Paul, because he gets his shot today, I'm like, Paul, I promise, man, if you start feeling like you need to eat some brain, I will shoot you. It's
I will
okay.
end you.
I will make sure that it's okay. No, but seriously though, so you guys, you both had both doses.
Mm-hmm.
Let's walk through it. Let's just go right from start to finish.
Yeah.
First dose, in between, second dose, because I know you guys had a pretty similar reaction, more or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah, for the most
I
part.
mean, it's pretty universal. Dose
Yeah.
1 was like nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. Sore arm. Yeah. Fine.
Definitely a little more sore than like the regular flu vaccine, but
Yeah.
not the worst vaccine
It's
I've
like a
had.
tetanus shot.
Yeah.
Sore. Not a flu shot. Sore.
That was it for me. No
Same.
fatigue, no nothing.
Same.
The second vaccine for me, I don't know, like 6 hours later, started to get some chills and hot flashes. My temperature got up to like 99-ish. But I finished a 12-and-a-half-hour shift. Like I
Okay.
didn't feel fatigued. I didn't really feel sick. Went to bed, woke up, had a bit of a headache. You know, it was a weird headache. It was different than something I'd experienced before. But it was gone by 1 in the afternoon. Had a little GI upset, but I'm not actually sure if that's related or not because Paul also
Right.
had some GI upset and he hadn't had the vaccine, so it could have been food-borne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little tired today, but I did a 10-mile hike the day after I
Right.
got the vaccine. Like I was feeling okay. So
Yeah, it was maybe a little bit more symptomatic. So dose 2, I got on shift, which was
Okay.
unexpected. Like I had an appointment. I was supposed to ski Friday with a bunch of work buddies, and it was like I get like one adult ski day a year, like where I don't have my 3 kids with
Right.
me, and so I get really excited about like my one adult ski day. And so my schedule for the second dose of the vaccine was for Saturday, like the
Okay.
next day. But on Thursday evening, I was on shift in the ER, like running my butt off. And then the vaccine clinic called and was like, hey, anyone need their second dose? We've got like 6 doses left over. We don't want to throw them away. And so I was like, hell yeah. So I ran over there and I was so totally fine after the first dose. I was like, and Pfizer was reporting only 15% of people were going to have symptoms after
Right.
dose 2. So I
Right.
was like, yeah, I'll take that chance for my ski day. I'll be fine. And then I got it. I felt okay, like for the rest of my shift. I felt a little flushed. I could feel it. I just felt like my cheeks were hot, but I'm also in a P100. Like I just kind of was like,
PP.
whatever. Got home, bought my lift ticket for the next day, put the kids to bed, had my normal evening, went to bed, and then like 3 a.m. I wake up and I'm just gagging. Like I'm like, so I tried to like zen it out, but I couldn't. So at 4 a.m, I was puking my guts out and felt real crappy, like chills. I don't know if I had a fever. It was the middle of the night. I wasn't gonna take my temperature. So I took a Zofran because I was like, I don't want to be vomiting. Like,
Right.
This is
No,
ridiculous.
no.
And then I went back to bed and I did sleep well. Woke back up at 10 in the morning. Mike woke me up because he was like, hey, aren't you supposed to be skiing? And I was like, no, I can't go skiing. I've been
Not
puking.
today.
And then my head was splitting and my whole spine hurt. And I just felt like pretty yucky. So I just tried to sleep as much as I could and then got up at like 10 and had a bad headache. So
Yeah.
that was it. And then by 4 p.m., which was like then 24 hours after the vaccine, I was pretty okay.
Yeah.
And then like one more day of just feeling a little tired.
Yeah.
And then totally fine.
So all in all, pretty easy.
Pretty easy. And dude,
Compared
like,
to COVID.
compared to COVID, oh my God. Or just like having one day down
Yeah.
to like help other people not die.
Right.
Right.
Hello.
Yeah, sit
Like,
on your
yes.
couch and watch some Netflix so other
Seriously.
people don't
Well,
die. We're
well
not
trained.
asking
We've
a
been
lot.
well trained with that with the quarantine to
Yeah.
like sit on your
Yeah.
ass
Right?
and watch Netflix.
Just
yeah.
another day.
And then just having that like, okay, like I can maybe come to the gym
Yeah.
without like I've been not in here because I've
Yeah.
been totally fearful of bringing COVID to everybody here.
Well, and you've talked about that before and used the term exposure burden. And,
Yeah.
and you know, that's not anything to do with the environments that you're going into. It's you going into those environments, which is an interesting, because a lot of people, the conversations around talking about only about the environment, not the personal responsibility of you have high exposure, right? Because of where you work. So do you.
Yeah.
And maybe in a different way, you know, guys like Paul or, you know, Leo or Matt or Rusty and them, you know, they're kind of transitional with their exposure because it's on an emergency call in the
Yeah.
field, but then they hand off and it's like, okay, so their exposure load is considerably lower
Yeah.
versus you guys are kind of in that the cruise ship
Constantly.
Yeah.
constantly. And so
Constantly
you,
exposed.
you had it-
Cesspool. It's the cesspool.
Yeah, it's
and you
everywhere.
guys both took that individual responsibility, not just seriously, but like legitimately, like, hey, this is an actual thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to take myself to the grocery store. I'm not going to take myself to Costco. You know, it's like even with the kids, I mean, I know you have your COVID car. Like you don't even
COVID
let
car.
the kids in the car.
Right.
And I thought that was really interesting because you took an extreme level of personal responsibility, which is awesome. Counterbalanced with the other side of that coin with some people, which took zero responsibility.
nothing.
But then here we are with, you know, now you're 2 vaccines in, feeling a little bit more, and I mean, physical relief, you didn't get sick in that neither of you contracted COVID.
No.
No.
I mean, so you both made it through that wave okay.
Which is fucking amazing.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. I
Like, I
cannot
can't-
believe I did not get sick.
Yeah.
I have had so many high risk
Same.
exposures
Yeah.
and have had to quarantine
Same.
and I cannot believe I didn't get sick.
which
Same.
is proof in the pudding that the protocols work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are effective. But
It's also proof, I want to just add this, that the contact borne like portion of this virus is really not a big deal. Like
Yeah.
if this
Yeah.
had
like
been
surface contact.
Surface contact.
Surface
Yeah.
contact.
Oh
Just for
my-
people who aren't watching and are
Yeah.
listening, it's if
Exactly.
I
Like-
touch something, somebody else touches it.
you're
Probably not
chance,
going to get
yeah.
sick.
you would probably have to like lick the contaminated surface. You're like the whole
Yeah.
like touching to then face
Face.
is
That's
like
my favorite thing to do.
It is
Yeah.
real. Like that could
Right.
be a vector for
But it's
transmission.
gotta be limited.
But it's got to be limited because in my work and like the whole donning and doffing process of the gowns, and I just watch everyone around me like fuck it up, right?
Constantly.
Like, constantly.
Yeah.
Like we have, and also
it's
just the PPE
subconscious.
that's available to
Yeah.
us is shit.
It's
Yeah.
not
like they've had
adequate.
to go to substitute products that don't work and they don't pop and
Non-medical
whatever.
grade masks, we got those at our hospital right,
Like,
now.
so if this was if this had any kind of virulence with like the contact borne, I would have 100% had COVID.
Yeah.
But the fact that I was issued that P100 mask to save N95s for everybody else, like that thing is why I don't have COVID.
Yeah.
And so, you know, because I mean, anybody that knows both of you, the emotional response post second shot for both of you was pretty heavy. I mean, that weight kind of, I mean, not that it's
Mine was
over, not
with
that
the
you're through
first
it, but
shot.
like you
Mine was
guys
with the
both,
first shot.
yeah, it seemed to be
Mine was
Like
really
that it
with
was
the first
happening.
one.
right. And that
like-
there is, we're not through it, but you can kind of see the light at the end of
Yeah.
the tunnel. And watching kind of both of you and some other folks that we know, just the elephant that got lifted off their shoulders just a tiny bit. It's not
Yes.
totally gone, but like
Oh, no.
that had to feel good.
It was huge.
It was overwhelming
Yeah.
for me. I have yet to like cry through this whole thing.
Me too.
Which is incredible because
Holy
in my
shit, me too.
my 5 years in the ICU, I've probably cried more at work than I've cried anywhere else for my patients, just because it's heartbreaking. It's a hard job, and we see some pretty awful things sometimes. I thought it was going to happen with the first vaccine.
Oh my God, Kayla, that's crazy.
It hasn't happened yet.
I haven't cried.
But it's probably the closest I've come to just like after it was about 10 months when I got my first vaccine.
Yeah, same.
We're close to 11 months now. I just felt this overwhelming sense of like there is finally light.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's still a long dark tunnel ahead of us. I mean, people have to commit to the vaccine for this to ever,
Well, even with the
end.
vaccine, we have a fourth wave coming. All the projections are showing
it's
it,
gonna
and it'll be
come.
worse than the third wave.
Yeah.
It's like everything is oscillating on this uptrend,
But-
and we're not done. Yeah.
But there is finally hope. With the second shot, it was just more like, fuck you, COVID.
Like, let's go.
Yes.
We got
Yeah.
this. Like,
Yeah, first shot.
yeah, you can't get me anymore. That's how the second shot felt. But
I
the
was
first one was just relief.
exactly so like, yes, exactly the same. Just I was ready to cry. I was like, okay, I have not cried one time this whole time.
Yeah.
With like the kids and the everything and all the like moral injury that we sustain at work every day of like, we know what we need, or at least in the ER with like the volume heavy and the suffering that's all around and like stuffing people into corners in the ER and just doing the best with what we have and the space we have. And the space that we don't have is more the stressor.
Right.
And just looking at people and like, I know what you need and I know what to do, but I can't
I can't do
Can't
it.
do it.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
And that hurts. And so I thought after that first dose, I like sat on my porch by myself with a glass of wine, and I just like put my feet up and sat and just like sat there in quiet and just breathing. And I don't do that ever. I don't sit down.
You don't sit down.
I don't sit down.
I don't
The
have
only
time
time you
to
slow
go.
down is when you're unconscious.
Let alone like with intention,
Yeah.
you know, of just like really centering and thinking. And like, I was like, okay, I'm going to cry. And then I fucking didn't.
You're like,
I
God
was
damn
like,
it.
Shit. Because I think there's this like thing inside me that like when I cry, I want it to be over.
Right.
And
it's
so
it's a closing mechanism
it's not
for you.
Yeah.
it's not done yet,
Yeah,
and
no.
so
Yeah.
I can't cry.
Yeah.
And
The day will
also
come.
like I need my reserves for work.
Right.
And I need my reserves for my kids. And I think when I cry, like I'm just gonna like really wash it out. And I can't wash it out yet because I need that like
Jog
feel
right over it.
energy.
exactly
Yeah.
the same way. I mean, that is 100% how I feel. Like I'm afraid if I start crying quite yet that like I'm
That
gonna
you're
go
gonna like lose it all.
I'm gonna lose it all.
Yeah.
And this has been such a moral, ethical, physical burden compared to your typical day in an intensive care unit caring for these COVID patients. I mean, it's absolutely atrocious. These patients are alone for 24 hours a day, locked in a room by themselves, often tied to a bed, because I don't know that people are fully aware that COVID causes delusions. It causes hallucinations in these really ill patients. If your oxygen level's too low, they can actually harm themselves.
Yeah,
and we
you
have to
get
tie these
anemia.
people to beds, and they're alone and they're isolated and they're scared and they don't feel well. And that's the only and best way to treat them. And as a person who has committed their life to caring for other people, that doesn't feel like caring, even if it is. And if I start to lose it too much over that, I don't know if I'm going to continue to be able to do that job.
Yeah,
So I'm not there yet.
exactly. Maybe we should like cry together.
Yeah.
think-
So
when
after
it's
the
all
fourth
over.
wave, so
Yes.
we will peak. Fourth wave is coming.
Right.
Like it is 100% coming.
Yeah.
And then the projection is it will crash and actually go
Yeah.
down.
Tsunami style.
And
Just
stay
a
down.
Slam
And stay
and
down.
then down and done.
So, and this is we are like banking on like whatever the 74% of our people that are saying like, yes, I'll get vaccinated. And it's like, yes, get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Because then we have like a shot at going back to life.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean-
but it's not time to party yet.
Not quite.
I was
Not
telling
quite.
my neighbors last night, I got together in my friend's garage, masked and sitting like way far apart from each other, that I think people are like sitting around and really judging each other at different levels. And I get it. Like, I mean, I walked into Hefe's in October on a Friday night to pick up my
You were pissed.
my takeout
I haven't
tacos,
heard
and
the
I
story.
have not been out at like I still have not been to a restaurant. Like, I have not gone out at all. And I do takeout to like support the businesses and stuff like that. And so I'm picking up my takeout, and it just happens to be a Friday night at like 5:00. So it's happy hour at Hefe's, and I was like, I just walked in that place, and I was like, holy fuck! Like, this is what people are doing. This is what people are doing.
No wonder we're seeing all these surges.
And I just feel these knives just like,
Yeah.
because I'm sure every single one of them would be like, oh, healthcare heroes. Like,
Don't call me a hero if you're going to
No.
go do that.
you assholes.
Stabbing me in the back.
So I definitely had that like sort of angry response at like all these people who are clearly being just like, they don't give a fuck.
Jackasses.
Yeah, but I'm sure like, in their mind, they've like told themselves that this is perfectly safe. Like jamming into like parties of 22 at
Right.
Hefe's
Oh
in
my
an
God.
enclosed
Right.
like outdoor patio.
I would have lost my
with no
shit.
masks on, and then like, I mean, whatever. I just was like, oh my God. So, it's hard though, because like we are all also human. Like
Yeah.
we are all fallible. We all have a level of coping capability, and we just like can't go past that level of
Right.
coping. And so, I've been super interested in this, and there's actually like all these modeling forecasts, including now there's this thing that they've coined called the fear and fatigue cycle.
Yeah.
So with COVID, there's like the fear of COVID, and so people behave like really
Right.
better, and they
Yep.
like do the compliance and they stay home, and then they get tired. So that's the fatigue part, and then they start like coming up and up, like
Yeah.
doing more and going out more and maybe like seeing more people, etc. And it's literally this like oscillating cycle of like fear and fatigue. And so we're doing it again. So we're doing this oscillating thing where like we're just going up in our worsening behavior. And so like on an individual level, I think the answer is just like with kindness and grace in your heart, like just say, hey, like I see like you're doing this thing. It's making me a little uncomfortable. Like, I don't know, do you want to think about it or talk about it? Instead of just like this thing that especially white women do of like blaming and pointing fingers and like tattling. Like,
Tattling.
Right.
don't tattle. Talk to the person.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
to the person who you
Or,
know
or
who's
ask
maybe
and
doing
see what's
something.
going on. Because
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Or see
not
if
always
you
gonna
can
be
help.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
not always going to
Yeah.
be the easy example. Oh, there's 20 people in a restaurant all sitting together. Like it could be more subversive than that, where it's
Or
like
maybe they were gathering because somebody had died in the family. Like
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Like I had my knee jerk like pissed off reaction, but like
It's hard not to.
it's hard not to. Yeah. So
well, and we don't live in a vacuum. I mean, it's-
while we finish this out, I think like just, and I'm a very hot-blooded person, so I definitely like
no.
I definitely have to like remind myself and quell myself
Yeah.
and channel all my little introverted friends who are very spiritual and like grounded and be like, oh, okay, I need to like
The ones you haven't murdered yet.
exactly. I have to like check in with the person who's maybe like, doing
Acting
something.
out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of the blame,
Well, you can
the
harness
blame
that
cycle.
anger at first. You can acknowledge it and
Yes.
process it, and then use that energy to have a constructive conversation with somebody.
Right.
And see, what their motivation is. Maybe there's a lack of education. I still think that I think we can tell people to do stuff, but telling people to do things leaves a pretty big gap, because if they don't understand the why, like people still don't understand. People I've talked to don't understand that wearing a mask does not really protect you.
Especially a
It pro-
cloth mask.
A cloth
Yeah.
mask. It
Yeah.
protects the people you're interacting with.
Right.
And it's getting to the point where at this point wearing a mask is more of a like social code. Like
Right.
I am
Or
protect
socio-political statement.
well, that too, but like
That should not be.
I wear a mask to protect the people I come in contact with.
Exactly.
Especially now that I'm vaccinated, in 12 more days anyways, I'll have the most immunity that I'm going to get from this thing. I'm not worried about getting COVID. I'm going to continue to wear my mask in case I am an asymptomatic carrier, because I can't get sick.
Right.
So I don't get anyone else sick.
Right.
But people still don't understand that, because
I
that's
know.
not part of the education. They're just being told to do something. And when you're just being told to do something, you're much less likely to comply with those rules and regulations if you don't understand the reasons why and the motive behind it.
Exactly. And truly, like, not, I tried to circulate this article. One of the science journals did a study on the effectiveness of different types of masks.
Right.
And because we know as healthcare providers, like,
Right.
a single layer cloth mask is like not doing much, right? Maybe it's stopping, I think, like 40% of your particles. So you are still like
Getting a lot out.
You are still sharing your shit with the world, and you are definitely not protecting yourself.
Right. It's
And
just
so,
less shit.
right. And so this speaks to like sending kids back to school and like the safety and efficacy of how to do that. And I think there is very poor awareness of like masks are not created equal, right? Even
No.
medical
Right.
grade masks are
No.
graded. There's like
Yeah.
ASTM level 1, 2, and
Yeah.
3 for a surgical mask like Kayla's wearing. There's an N95. An N95 is actually called an N95 because it filters 95% of
Yeah. It's self-defining.
particles.
Yeah.
Exactly. That are like of the viral size that are concerning for COVID. And so you've got like a class full of 25 kids wearing these like single layer, like whatever
Tiny masks.
Yeah.
that they're probably 75% mask compliant with actually keeping it above their nose and mouth all the time.
Yeah.
And then you've got a teacher who's like not on board with this and could have like pre-existing health conditions, and like you're just like forcing them into this position
Right.
when there's a goddamn vaccine delivered, ready
Right.
to go, and
Yep.
you're gonna force these teachers to go back before they're vaccinated. It's asinine.
Presumptively,
it's not gonna
at least
happen.
in our state. Well,
Yeah.
nobody's done it yet. Nobody's gone back, and
well-
there is some conflict amongst the school boards, and especially locally. And it's
Yeah.
you've got multiple opinions on both sides. But to full circle back around to your point about the education, I think that one of the things that was a massive tactical error, and we'll leave all the Trump federal bullshit aside, just the tactical error of the education that was disseminated. The entire first course of information was flatten the curve. Flatten the curve so we don't overload our healthcare system.
Exactly.
And at least as far as Oregon was concerned, because that's where we live, but a
We
lot
did
of other
that.
states,
We did it.
We
We
did
did
that.
it.
Now the problem was that
People
wasn't
traveled.
the right message for the entirety of this project. What it was on the consumer end was, hey, if you do this, we'll be able to get back to other things and get back open. But that's not what happened, because that wasn't the right thing to tell people. The
Yeah.
right thing to tell people was the truth, which is this is going to take 16 weeks minimum. You wanted 3 months, roughly.
At least.
12
Yeah.
to 16 weeks. But the populace as a whole being given one thing, it's only going to be 10 days to start with, or 14 days, and then it stretched to a month, then it stretched to 6 weeks, and then they just kept getting a little bit more and a little bit more, a little bit more. And instead of leading with open, honest truth from immunologists and infectious disease specialists of it's going to take this amount of time. This
Yeah.
fucking sucks, but if we do it now, it won't stretch 10 months. But the messaging was, hey, we're going to flatten the curve, and that's going to solve our problem, because everybody's going to get sick. That
Well,
was
it
the
would
foregone
have.
conclusion
It still would
subconsciously.
have.
It would have had it been a combined, united effort from the entire country at the same time.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But we
But
are a
that's-
nation of
not gonna
cowboys
happen.
We're a nation
who
of 50
cannot actually like work together as a unit.
There- a lot of
and so
individualism.
every state did their shutdown at different times, and then
Right.
people are fucking traveling.
Right.
So you have
but
no,
because
you
they
have
made
no
it a
flattening.
like we were saying, a socio-political issue, not a healthcare related issue. If this was Ebola and people were bleeding out of their face,
Yeah.
no one's going out of their
No one's
fucking
going
house
out of
until
their
it's
house,
over.
yeah.
No.
The problem is this was the worst kind of thing that could happen, because it was completely unseen and it lies dormant for so long.
And it doesn't
And it-
kill
it
kids
it
as
doesn't,
much.
And it doesn't kill kids as much.
It doesn't kill people as much
Yeah.
as other things as of right now. But the tough part is, you talk about, well, we did do what we were told. We were told to flatten the curve.
Right.
That was what the consumers were told. And so when that happened and then they changed the goalpost again, people stop buying in, because you get that fatigue cycle. It's like, I can't do this anymore, because so many other things, and because they weren't honest and open up front, people weren't mentally prepared or prepared themselves for a structure that would sustain a prolonged shutdown, including things like their health and fitness of what's my plan, what's my approach. Everybody was like, oh, just Band-Aid, 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 Band-Aid. But it's like, great, you've got an arterial hemorrhage. That's not doing shit. We just are running out of Band-Aids.
I just to that point, I don't know that people weren't being honest and open. I just think that they didn't know. I think to some extent, like, some people thought it was going to be this bad. Others thought, professionals, You know, your infectious disease doctors thought that this could get better. Some thought it wasn't going to get better until we had a vaccine. There was just no consensus. We were shooting in the dark, like shooting from our hip.
And
it
the
felt
lack
like
of testing from the onset
get-go.
Buried us.
Because we didn't have
It buried-
resources.
We had no idea how prevalent
the
it was.
number of people I took care of in my emergency department where I was like, well, you definitely have COVID. We can't test you because we don't have enough tests.
Right.
So like, please go home and like, don't,
Spread
do
it.
isolate, do as much as you can. Don't go to work. And then I have people like, well, I work at Plaid Pantry and I don't have any sick time. And I'm like, fucking perfect. So you're going to go back to work at Plaid Pantry, infect like
100
who knows
people.
how many people in your interactions. Cause this was like nobody was wearing masks yet.
Sure.
We couldn't test people, so we couldn't give definitive like diagnoses to say like, you absolutely have COVID, you absolutely have to stay home. We had to just say it as best as we could and hope that people believed us and hope that people would quarantine. And then like the contact tracers and the health authorities were totally unprepared. So it was like failure from the start.
Completely unprepared for this kind of pandemic.
Totally.
Completely unprepared.
Yeah. And all the fragility of our medical system that has existed forever has been just like split open and magnified, and hopefully everyone is looking at this like, holy shit, we need to fix this.
Something needs to change.
This for-profit healthcare is like, this is how
It's killing people.
runs. Like, for-profit healthcare means you want to keep every bed occupied at all times to make money. The more unoccupied beds you have in a hospital, you hemorrhage money.
Right.
So for-profit healthcare has like run this fine line of like, okay, this is our bed capacity. This is how we can run our business, where we are at like 90 to 100% occupancy on a regular basis. You have a mass casualty incident, you have a pandemic like
God
this.
forbid we had a real environmental disaster
even
right now.
just a bad flu year will tip us over the edge into like dysfunction. So COVID has absolutely done that in like the most horrific way. And I hope that people can like really see that and be like, oh, this is not working, right? We have like a huge portion of our population, our American people, who don't have access to care because they don't have insurance. So then they're left with like only utilizing emergency services when things are so bad that like they actually have their life is threatened. So like, we can't go on like this. This is not a way to be.
It's not sustainable.
This will happen again.
This will absolutely
possibly
happen
in our lifetime,
right,
if something doesn't change.
Yeah.
Especially as our cities and suburbs become more dense in population, we're going to see potential viral spread. I mean, just flu seasons, even, especially with like all this hesitancy to vaccinate in people nowadays, and it becoming such a hot button political issue, which it should never be. This is a healthcare issue. This is not political.
Science should be separated from church and state. So
we need to learn from this and better prepare, or we're going to end up in the same situation in another. I mean, it could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, but
it could be 10 months.
It could be just around the corner. SARS-CoV-3, and we're going to be in the same situation if we don't make some changes now.
Well, and you're starting to see some of that because you're seeing somewhat of an exodus from metropolitan centers. People are like, oh, being stacked on top of each other probably isn't the best way to live, and so those who have means and capacity to get out,
the affluent are like, oh, I'm going to go.
No, that's my point, right? So, but then on the flip side of that, the other side of that coin is you've got more people that are going to be state dependent. And in order to house them, or for them to house themselves, it's going to have to be more affordable, which goes swinging back into high density housing, high population densities compacted into
with people who can't afford insurance.
With people who can't afford insurance, and then you get into and this is why the conversation. This is why I like having you guys in my wheelhouse, but then also for everybody else's, is that you are literally on the front line of this in the healthcare system, right? Everything you see, by the time they get to you, is a problem, and you don't get to see all the stuff on the outside where so I mean you're getting the worst of the worst, and every day, to the point of you can't cry yet because it's not done. We got to get through. You got to hold some reserves, got to keep that tank a little bit from going empty. But the other side of that is you've got a bunch of people who work at Plaid Pantry. The existential answer of everybody just stay home. Great. Check out the wait list. Check out the wait list for unemployment in just the state of Oregon.
Yep.
And you're looking at 36 weeks, and they've had zero income.
Yep.
You tell me. It's like, okay, do you want to? And part of it becomes like, okay, death by hanging or death by gunshot. because one way or another, you're going to die. You either go to work, get it, and, and I mean, I'm being metaphorical, like, obviously, but it's going to destroy you one way or the other. Which would you choose? I can understand that Plaid Pantry person or the whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. The restaurant worker, whoever, the gym owner, that, is sitting there going, well, okay, if the outcome's the same, I'm going to at least have my hands on the steering wheel, and I don't have a choice. And it's not, to your point of empathy for now the people in the restaurant, especially that restaurant, it's like, it's a little affluent area. But people that are choosing because they don't have a choice. I got 3 kids. They can't not eat. They can't go, am I going to take and call social services and lose my kids to, foster home because I can't support? I mean, there's a million different ways that this shakes out that is completely uncontrollable for them. Again, back to the system not being set in a proper alignment to be able to handle that. But I just wonder, it's like if we'd have been straight up from the beginning, not we as in us, but like if it had been straight up like, hey, we don't have a handle on this, we're fucked. You guys have to stay home, and we're going to put this together, a $600 or a $1,200 stimulus from the federal government one time. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
That doesn't even cover rent for 1 week for most people.
It makes me wonder what politicians think like real life is.
And that's the disconnect, right? You've got, we're sitting here looking at, it's kind of like Hunger Games. I mean, really, you've got, you got that.
The high tower.
The high tower.
Yep.
And you got the other 99%. And the only thing that this has done is make that gap even wider.
Yep.
All the small businesses.
Yep.
Amazon. Woo.
Yep.
Right. Fitness is a whole other, fitness just got sideswiped anyways. But most industry that was small business owner driven, totally taken out.
Yeah.
The big guns are still going. Healthcare wise,
the irony is healthcare systems are struggling too.
And the big healthcare systems are failing under their own weight.
Yeah.
Because they're a
so the
dinosaur.
only way that we have been able to grant some capacity for beds is to cancel elective procedures. So
elective in some of those.
That's a term
it's tiered. It's tiered.
That's not like cheek implants and shit.
Exactly.
Like they consider
I don't
joint
want people to
replacements
think like
elective.
elective procedures means like nose jobs and boob jobs and like liposuction. Like
No,
that's not.
that's not it.
It's like heart valve replacements
Yep.
and knee
Joint,
replacements, hip replacement. Like it's not like frou-frou surgery stuff.
It's also
real,
foo-foo surgery stuff, but
Yes,
it's also
but in addition,
that's
there's
such
real,
a small portion
Right.
of
Very
what's being
small.
canceled.
And that's the only way hospitals
tumor
make money.
resections are
Tumor
being
resections
delayed.
are delayed.
So it's the only thing that Oregon hospitals have been able to do to like have some like space and capacity.
Right.
I think OHSU's still been at like 50% capacity or 50% elective procedures since March. Like we went to 0 for the governor's order. And then that like just sunk us financially. So like they gave all physicians in the hospital got a pay cut. Even the emergency department and the ICUs who are taking care of COVID patients had to take a pay cut. They did get that reinstated, I think by May, but then have not gone back to like full operations at all. We're still unmodified.
Yeah. We've fared a little bit better. We went to 0 for the elective surgeries as well, and that absolutely just sunk us.
Yeah.
And now it's a day. My understanding, and that's how the hospital is doing. It's a day-by-day incident command, looking at our capacity, looking at the surgery schedules, talking with the physician, seeing how many of those procedures we can actually do. And we have so I work at a level 2 trauma center, but we are the busiest emergency room in the entire state.
Yeah.
We serve a huge breadth of land. A lot of rural access hospitals use us as their primary hospital. And at any given time, we're at about 105% capacity pre-COVID. So now that we are dealing with this surge of 70 to 100 COVID patients in the hospital at any given time, it's kind of a day-by-day process of where are we going to put these patients. The biggest thing that we have done is we are continuing most of our outpatient surgeries. But if you're going to require potential ICU monitoring, which is common after a lot of elective surgeries, just because the potential is there for something to go wrong, we keep them in the ICU for 24 hours. They often go home the next day, but we don't have those beds for people now. So those surgeries are often being delayed. And these are things like carotid endarterectomies, where they go in and they clean out the carotid arteries.
So you don't have a stroke.
So you don't have a stroke.
Yeah, right.
Or same thing, heart valve replacements that have huge consequences if these are delayed. It's just,
Right.
it's
sad.
It's really sad. And it's heartbreaking to know that there are people who need these procedures and this access to care, and they cannot get it because we have 78 patients in the hospital that have
and a lot of them are
coronavirus.
decompensating.
Right.
Yeah.
They're decompensating,
They're getting
and then they're
worse.
coming to the ER anyway.
Yeah.
So.
And which this is, I kind of set this up obviously because we're outlining all these little individual skirmishes that nobody can coordinate an attack to frickin' stabilize everything. And now we have a vaccine. And the tactical weapon to handle this is an mRNA vaccine from Pfizer and Moderna. Both of them have effectively the same treatment. You both have had the Pfizer one, correct?
Yep.
And I know both of you are far more educated on how the thing works than I am.
Oh yeah.
But for those who are listening to this, explain why
actually-
this is so amazing, because technologically
so
It is
speaking,
really cool.
It is
this
so
is
simple.
this is futuristic,
Yeah.
badass shit.
Yeah, it is really quite simple when it comes down to it. So the Pfizer vaccine has like 10 ingredients in it. Actually meant to bring the ingredient list because there's hardly anything in it that you don't consume almost every day
Right.
outside of the mRNA. So they inject this mRNA into your delt, your shoulder muscle. Your body recognizes it as foreign, but it reads the mRNA. And the cells of your body actually produces a small part of the spike protein that's on the outside of the coronavirus. Not even the whole protein, a small part of it. Which
spike protein, which is the mechanism of the virus that
Yeah.
attaches onto your healthy cells and infects your body.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you and it's called the mRNA vaccine because it's the messenger RNA. So your body
Which
takes
people don't
that,
realize RNA
takes
is
that
precursor to
code,
DNA.
right?
And
So
yeah.
your body is taking that RNA code and running with it. They're like, oh, I just got the blueprint for the antibody to the spike protein of this horrible virus that's killing everybody.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to manufacture the antibody to the spike protein so that when this COVID virus
The next
comes
time
into
you
my
see-
body and tries to attach onto my cells, that spike protein is ineffective because I've got antibody
Right.
cells
That will
ready
surround
to
it
go
and make
to
it
just-
ineffective.
It can't attach.
Right.
So it can't attach. So I can still get inoculated with COVID. I can still be exposed and have enough inoculum of a COVID virus to otherwise infect me. But because I'm vaccinated, I have the antibody mounted
Yep.
so that I won't get the infection.
You won't get
Which
sick.
then means I'm also not contagious.
Right.
So it's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
and it's so simple.
Yeah.
It's so
and
simple.
when I back in whatever early March and stuff, and this people are like, oh, there's someone's working on the vaccine. I kept saying dude, the vaccine is not the answer. There's no way. I had no faith. I had no faith that this was actually going to be developed and be effective and be launchable in a time
timely
frame
manner.
that would matter, right? I was totally wrong. I've been right on a lot of shit with COVID. Totally wrong
wrong
about
on
this.
that one. Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to take this vaccine. I don't know anything about mRNA, but I didn't know, and I truly didn't know anything about mRNA vaccines. And but it has been around for a solid 10 years.
Yep.
And so once I started reading, and really
Actual white papers, not
actual
bullshit.
journal
Yeah.
articles,
not writing on
Journal,
Instagram.
peer reviewed,
Yes,
scrutinized
exactly.
by the medical
Studies.
community.
I was like, oh hell yes, I'm
Yeah.
taking this vaccine. And then it was 20,000 people have already voluntarily been the sort of test subjects or
Guinea
whatever.
pig, yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, dude, sign me up.
Yeah. That's a ton of
put
people.
it in my arm.
That
Yeah.
is
Go.
a huge sample size for the
Huge sample
record. That
size.
is most of the medical procedures and medications that everyone consumes is not tested
With
Right.
that sample
with
size,
that
yeah.
scale. So
Yeah.
your Viagra that you're taking was not tested on
Why are
that
you
many
looking
people.
at me with that?
Just saying.
I mean, seriously, jeez.
But what your albuterol, your statin, those medications before when they came on the market, they were not scrutinized to the point that this vaccination has been.
Yeah.
It's because they don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah.
If we fuck up the one opportunity that we have to stop this, then what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
the adaptation for people, because right now, I mean, it's voluntary.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're eligible, and it's if you blow this, nobody's gonna. I mean, there's already a hard enough time with the messaging out there of anti-vaxxers before all this shit, which
you know what I have hope about is that like the medical community, all of us, like we have been rampantly, like so visibly taking this vaccine, being proud of it, being excited about it, and sharing. And so like all of the public out there anyone out there who has said thank you to the front line during COVID, okay, thank you for saying thank you, but please look at us and trust us and know, like, if you don't want to dig deep and do all the medical journal reading, cool, but like look at me, look at Kayla, like we got this vaccine because we fully understand the science and we fully accept that this is the right thing to do. It's also the right thing to do for you. 100%.
If you want to thank us,
If you want to thank us, don't even say it out loud. Do not buy me like a lunch. Don't buy me a drink. Like,
don't put up another sign.
Vaccinated. Don't put up another sign that's going to fall down in the wind and just make me sad.
Yeah.
It just looks sad.
It looks sad.
Thank you.
It looks how we
heroes.
feel. Looks exactly how we feel.
Yeah, just melting away in the rain and the wind and just blown up. Well, no, but I mean that's it's going to be interesting to see. I think we're lucky with our timing, because if we had, and not that we make this a political conversation, but this has been politicized. Health and fitness and your physical health and well-being has become politicized into and we talked about this last time too, where it's like, it's not just people with comorbidities because they had bad life choices that contract COVID.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody can get it.
Are we going to talk about that again? I hope people fucking understand that by now.
Right.
Like, this is not a disease of the morbidly obese and the diabetics and the heart failure people. Oh my God, I might have to even say this again.
No.
This virus is hitting fit fucking 30 and 40-year-olds are dying.
And killing them.
And like, don't go out in the world as a 20-something and think like, oh, I'm healthy, and if I get COVID, I'll be fine. Maybe.
Young, healthy, pregnant women. I've seen that.
Not good.
Yeah.
Like, maybe. And statistically, yes, like you have a decent shot at like not having a severe course. You don't know that that's going to be you.
Sure.
You have no fucking idea if it's going to be you that's going to be totally fine, if it's going to be you that's going to be totally asymptomatic, or if it's going to be you that like you're kind of sick for 2 weeks, and then on week 3 you start really getting shitty, and then you're that 35-year-old that's like super healthy and fit and a triathlete, and you're in the COVID ICU,
right.
like prone and intubated.
Or you're that patient that gets a mild disease because you are a young, healthy 25-year-old, but week 2 you throw a massive blood clot and stroke out. We've seen that.
Totally.
Because COVID makes your blood clot faster. It makes you hypercoagulable.
We see a bunch of small bowel obstructions.
People ending up with colostomies because of it.
The number of PEs is insane. Pulmonary embolus, blood clots in your lungs, very bad.
Well, and that's the thing. And this happens all the time.
Yeah,
other diseases do this to healthy, fit people too, if they've had undue exposure to something. I mean, we see it a lot of times. You see it in the military, when you're overseas, because there's just shit. There's bugs. There's stuff out there that wipes out super strong, healthy people. And anything that's not intrinsically good for you can be devastatingly bad. You can be perfectly healthy and all of a sudden have some combination of two things that your system's just like, whoa, we're not going to be able to handle this, to the point that you're triathlete, right? It's like, and it's an extreme example, but it's a good example because it's an easy one for people to visualize. Like, you've got a 35-year-old professional triathlete who is crazy fit, capable of doing incredible things, and no different than stepping off the curb, getting hit by a dump truck. It just wipes them out.
Yeah.
And nothing they did wrong. It's just that something they don't know internally about their system can't handle this.
And nobody knows.
So no one knows.
Nobody knows why COVID is hitting bodies the way that it hits bodies.
Why push that button? And it's kind of a game of Russian roulette, except there's 2 rounds in the chamber of 6, not one. Why push the issue when all it takes, for the most part, be cognizant of your social distancing.
Right.
Wash your fucking hands. Wear your mask.
Wear a mask.
And now get vaccinated.
Now, I mean, I'll probably invert that one. Get vaccinated when you have the opportunity.
Yes.
And move along down the line. I mean, it's why we don't have to deal with polio anymore. It's just I don't know. We're never afraid of technology when it comes in the sense of our iPhone, our cars,
right.
our,
That's a good point.
Amazon, because I got same day delivery, all that bullshit.
Yeah, we're gonna have drones delivering soon.
Yeah, we got drones and all kinds of stuff. But now all of a sudden you got people that are like, oh, well, mRNA is dangerous because it's this, that, and the other. It's like, one, mRNA has been a functional treatment mechanism for other things both in the lab and in the wild, so to speak, for a decade. This is not, and even this vaccine, it's not like they just started studying it. They've been studying coronavirus for 70 years. It's on the Lysol can from like the 60s. Post-Korean War, they're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, no, coronaviruses are very common.
Coronaviruses are super
Very
common.
common.
And this base structure, and this is the thing that's like, I can go way too far on this, but the base structure, a coronavirus is a type of virus. It is a coronavirus.
Yep.
They have sort of the same building blocks as each other. It's just the little offshoots that make it more dangerous, i.e. COVID-19.
Slightly different proteins.
Slightly different proteins. So our bodies aren't ready for it because we don't have the immunity. In nature, it would be, hey, you're going to get a small exposure to this, you build up immunity, or you don't, and you keep moving forward, and that's the quote-unquote herd immunity concept, right? Well, okay, that is what we did for eons as humans until we had actual science and technology, and now we're utilizing that to our advantage, and people are suddenly afraid of it while they're on their iPhone tweeting about how afraid of it they are. It's like, you're a fucking hypocrite unless you're literally sitting here in the middle of a, I don't know, Montana or Idaho, sending smoke signals or carrier pigeons. Like, fuck you. If you're willing to buy in on the other shit, actually educate yourself and step up to the plate, because this thing, this tech is, it's awesome. Plus, it's the side effects and the consequences compared to various other, vaccines that we've had in the past, far smaller. I mean, people that get flu shot, they can be sick for a week. I don't know.
I think the symptoms post flu shot can mimic the flu with the immune response,
but it's a longer stretch of time.
Yeah,
because of the type of delivery mechanism, because it's small viral body going in. Yeah. It's not the mRNA style, which is
mRNA is much safer.
It's much safer, and the exchange rate is much more efficient in the sense that to your body's learning this code. It's now writing up the response, and it's doing it that fast compared to the traditional mechanism of a vaccine, which is much slower. It's like analog versus digital.
Yeah.
And this is a digital vaccine.
Yep.
Well, and I think that's one of the arguments that I hear most is that this vaccine was created so quickly. It was created so quickly. They started working on a similar vaccine in 2008 for the SARS outbreak.
Right.
The biggest hurdle that they had then was
SARS-CoV-1.
SARS-CoV-1.
Right.
COVID-19, the illness as we know it is the SARS-CoV-2 virus, is the mRNA degrades in your body so quickly. They had to find a way to encapsulate the mRNA,
stabilize it so
to stabilize it long enough for your cells to take it up. And that's what
they did.
That's literally the only thing they had to do in 9 months, and that's what they did. And
they had like all the resources.
The
were going
entire
into that.
world stopped, collaborated together, and all the money was given to this project.
Yeah.
That would have, if SARS-CoV-1 would have spread outside of China, we would have seen the same thing happen in 2008.
Yep.
It did not. There was no financial incentive for companies to continue working on this vaccine
at that pace.
But they did not stop working on it, because coronaviruses are some of the most likely to become zoonotic, meaning move from animals to humans, like we believe this one has. But now that we have this technology moving forward, hopefully that will help. But it's been in the works for 12 years. And just as a fun fact, that phospholipid envelope that the mRNA in, polyethylene glycol, it's what Miralax is.
Yeah. it's what you take when you're
It's what you take when you're constipated. Like, it's not some weird, foreign, crazy new molecule that we created. It's Miralax.
That's insane.
So that's why it happened so quickly. It's like 10 simple ingredients. They had to find the right combination. When we already knew.
And then storage and transport. And
then storage and transport. And that's still going to continue to be a challenge.
Which will get better because, I mean, Moderna's is considerably more stable, lower temperature, higher, closer to room temp than Pfizer. But, I mean, it's not that they don't work. It's just they're a little bit different. Moderna kind of figured out that hack a little bit quicker. Pfizer will get there too, especially considering what their stock price has gone to and the valuation of their company. They've got more money than God.
And there will be different types of vaccines.
Right. And other competitive
that are not
I think,
mRNA.
Was it AstraZeneca's got one coming that's approved over in Europe, and it's coming. I mean, so there's going to end up being, this could be its own podcast, but capitalistic healthcare. You've got competing companies trying to make something better for contracts. If it's altruistic, we're not really great at altruistic as humans, but we are good at capitalism. And the competitive nature of this, of finding the thing that works the best, it's good for their shareholders. And so their incentive, obviously, to do right, because you've got doctors and physicians with the Hippocratic Oath taking that very seriously. But when Pfizer hit the nail on the head, Moderna hit the nail on the head, AstraZeneca, and the next like 3 or 4 companies to do that, maybe it's not such a bad thing to have that competitive marketplace where you've got multiple independent entities trying to figure it out faster than the other ones, all with the incentive of giving something that is going to make people healthier and get back to, I don't want to say normal.
To save the
but-
world.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
it kind of is. And
straight
normally
up.
we see it's Bruce Willis on a space shuttle landing on an
No.
asteroid. It's
Right.
like, no. No, this asteroid was microscopic and it came out of a bat or whatever it was. And we got it from the inside out. So Bruce, we got to shrink Bruce down and send him into the middle of that. It's like, no, this is not, it's not and that maybe that's part of the reason it's an issue. We can't see the asteroid coming. We can't see the goddamn thing. I mean, it presumptively could be in, right here, right now. It likely is everywhere, but it's just hard to get your mind around how can you go after something like a fix like that will literally save the world without some of that competition between, the right and the left hand trying to figure out like, hey, let's, Moderna's got one
together.
thing better than Pfizer. Pfizer was first, so they definitely hit it, but it's like, so now who's the next wave that's going to get it to where it can be stored at room temperature?
Well,
and then it's, infinite, or you can buy it at Costco or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really important moving forward because this isn't just going to go away.
Right.
No.
Like we have to get an annual flu shot. We are likely going to have to get a coronavirus vaccination every 1 to 2 years is what they're, hypothesizing. That's yet to be determined. And it's going to be important for this to be a easily producible, mass producible, deliverable vaccine for people to get, or we're going to see, this virus come back like we've seen measles come back.
Right.
Because people aren't getting the vaccine. So moving forward, I think that competition is going to continue to be helpful. I don't know a lot about the AstraZeneca and the Johnson & Johnson.
I don't either.
I believe both of them are just a one-time dose. I think they are more of like your typical influenza vaccine, and it has to be grown versus created. So
Right.
it takes longer to produce it. When those things start to come to market, I'll read into them more and figure out.
Well, when they do, you're coming back because you're obviously the foremost expert that
Well,
we know.
I wouldn't go that far.
No,
Very
but I mean,
valuable here.
but you also took it upon yourself to learn all this because you were going to put it in your body.
Right.
And
people were going to ask me about
people
it.
are going to ask you about it because you've got, and same with you. It's like everybody, I mean, shit. Anybody that knows you or knows where you live, it's like you're the first person everybody calls when shit goes sideways. It's like, all right, D, what do we do? It's what the fuck's going on? And because you're both very straightforward about it, and you give the straightforward answer of like, it's this and it's going to be this. So get your shit together, right? You don't sugarcoat it. You just articulate it clearly, and you make it very easy for people to understand the consequences. A plus B equals C. This is what's going to happen. So don't be an asshole. I won't have to be a bitch, and then there won't be consequences, right? And it works really well. My hope with, we got, what day is it? The 11th? No, today's the 14th, right?
It's the 11th.
It's the 11th. Shit, it's Monday. It's Monday. I know it's Monday.
It's Monday.
We've got 9 more days until the next guy takes over, and hopefully at the
What are
federal
you talking
level,
about? Oh, that. Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
From the top down, we get more back to straight talk of like, and no more fucking two-side political bullshit with stuff to do with health and wellness, and it just becomes straight up like, look, this is what's happening, this is what's coming, we have to do these 2 things or this is going to happen. But you can't do half measures with it. It's got to be all in with the honesty and the directness, and I kind of don't know where we're going to land with that, because even in our state, it's been, in the last couple of weeks, I even think at the government level, it's kind of been like, fuck it, we can't control any of this
Yeah,
shit.
it really
I'm
has
like,
been.
So
are you guys just like caving? What are you
Yeah.
doing here?
They're
Throwing your
tired.
hands up?
They're
like,
yeah.
what are we
tired. I
doing?
mean,
The
school,
people in charge are now fatigued.
Throwing
and
metrics just out
And
the
they're
window.
punting-
We're
they're punting
ignoring
it down the road.
forecasting. Like, I'm like, hello, this is like gonna get way worse before it gets better. What are we
Meanwhile,
doing here?
we're the ones carrying that burden.
Yeah.
Right. You guys, everybody on the front, the little front line first responders have to deal with the consequences of that decision first and foremost. We all deal with the consequences of it in some capacity.
Exactly.
But your guys' is much more visceral and physiological. For some, it's psychological, right? You've got the parents that were at the bar, right? They just can't take it anymore.
Right.
My concern always leans more towards the kids. And so
Yeah,
it's like,
for
where are we going to find that solution? And, adults, adults have had enough trips around the sun. They can figure out what they're going to do, and they've got independent mobility because they've probably got a job or they've got a way to get themselves out of a situation. Kids don't. Kids are victims of circumstance to where they're born.
Yep.
I mean, it is what it is. And how do you rightfully look at a kid? And this is the interesting one. I've got a few people that we know that they're not going to get the vaccine, but they're definitely going to have their kid get it. And but
That's crazy.
It's really, I know.
I mean, it's not technically even like FDA approved for children yet. So
no, but I mean the existential, like, if the school requires it, we'll get it so they can go back to school.
But
because
they're not going to get it
But they're
themselves.
not going to get it
because they
themselves.
don't think it's as a, I can't. This isn't my position, so I'm not articulating as well because I don't understand it. But their thought process is, I want my kid to have it first and foremost, if that's what it takes for them to get back into school, even though I won't get it for myself. I can kind of.
They're like willing to like hold off their dose.
Both,
so that,
but like I don't get the flu shot, but it's just because I'd never get around to it. It's not like I have a anti-vax position. It's just I don't get the flu
you
shot.
go to the drugstore and like don't need an appointment. It's
Totally
like,
understand.
I'll bring you one next year.
Totally
boom,
understand.
And they like, boop,
Totally
done.
understand. Also, I haven't had the flu in ever. Like it's so it's I can kind of see where their head is wrapped around. Like it's either a combination of not taking responsibility for themselves, is their own well-being because they're a parent, they're always thinking about their kids first. But the fact that they're willing to say, if this is what it takes to get my kid back into school, because they know for their kid's mental well-being,
Yeah.
they
No, I
need to be
understand
in
that.
school. And so I can understand that component. And part of me is like, well, if the end game is we need 74% of the population vaccinated, and we get enough of those kind of people making those decisions of like, well, okay, if I, like teachers, right? Maybe some of them don't want to do it, but if that's what it takes to open the school, they'll bite that bullet, so to speak, if they're not really understanding how this whole thing works. I'm like, okay, well, maybe that might be a consequence of their not being, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. If the end goal is to get 74%, personally, I don't care how we get there. It's like, hey, get there. We just got to get there. And the ethics on that side, it's like, well, is it gonna do more harm than good? No. Okay, then I lean considerably more towards that. If it was, if there were other issues at bay with that,
Well,
it might be different. But it's just it's a very weird time, and the answers are not crystal clear. And I just feel like the open transparency and actual education, like explaining what mRNA is, how it works, explaining the side effects, which you guys both have firsthand knowledge of, and not that other people don't have. Some people haven't had any.
some people have had it. Some have had it worse.
Yeah, one of my buddies up in Seattle, he was he's on shift. He's like, yeah, I literally had a fever during shift for about 4 hours, but it was like he took a couple Tylenol. He's like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah, the group I was supposed to go skiing with, we all got that vaccine on the same day, pretty much at the same time,
Yeah.
and like I was the only one that couldn't go skiing.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
everybody, everybody has a different level of reaction.
Right.
And that's totally normal and totally okay
And
very acceptable.
What I like to try and help explain to people too, these are not necessarily like it could be classified as a side effect, but it's expected. It's an immune
not an
response.
allergic reaction.
It's not an allergic
Yeah.
reaction.
Yeah.
It's not something harmful to your body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's your body actually doing what it's
actually
supposed
pretty
to do.
badass because it's
Yeah.
your body going in there and saying, no, fuck this. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. We're going to make this like a permanent solution
Yeah.
to this virus.
Your T cells are just like going crazy and like doing what they're supposed
Your
to do.
body's actually
and-
pretty stoked for a little while.
Yeah.
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 Well, and to the point where it's you now have a little bit of a shield.
Yeah.
But again, it is an end all be all sort of, but you still need to maintain proper hygiene. You still need to maintain all that because some other people, either they don't get it or it might not work for them, in the same capacity.
Yeah,
And
right.
It's only
95%
95%.
effectiveness means there's still a 5%
Yeah.
chance that you'll have actual
Yeah.
inoculation and
which means
transmission.
out of the United States, that's about 15 million people it won't work for.
If
right now.
everyone got it.
If everyone got it, right?
Right.
That's still 15 million people. That's 4 times the population of the state of Oregon.
Right.
Right.
Like that's a lot of people.
So we got masks in our future well
Yeah.
into even next school year, but like if we can just be a little bit safer and like getting back to our lives, then it's super worth it.
Yeah, and within context and reason of activity, right? I mean,
Right.
I think we all agree, coming all the way around to the fitness side, it's ridiculous that gyms have been completely shut down like they have, but the mall's still open.
It
I mean,
seems,
I don't
there's
know.
so many things.
It's super the economic like part of this is just so complex that like for me I don't care about anything, but like the fact that our kids have had to shoulder this and be out of school for a year, because we are this capitalist nation where, like, if you close everything else, then everyone loses their jobs and doesn't have income, and that's also terrible. And schools are the one thing that you can shut down without consequence, right? Like, the teachers are still making their salary, they're teaching remote, like the kids.
Without economic consequence.
Without economic,
yes, that is a very good point, because
to the teachers,
the kids are suffering.
There's a lot of people out of work because their kids are home and not in school right now.
Yeah.
Particularly women who
the public school system is the biggest daycare in the country.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like 100% am a mom who want my kids back in school, but I'm also a nurse, an ER nurse, and a person who is like science minded, who doesn't want to do this in a stupid way.
Right.
Just like LO has plans to put kids back in the building like February, whatever,
5th,
something like starting, and teachers aren't scheduled to start their vaccination process until the end of January. So they will not have antibodies mounted. They will not have had their second dose. And I'm just like why no other district in the entire Portland metro area is talking about this. They're going to get their teachers vaccinated and have antibodies mounted before having them re-enter the classroom. So I don't know.
I mean, my concern too, and I'm not a parent, so I don't deal with any of this stressful.
So, I mean, kind of
I'm a parent. I am a parent to a grown man, but I do not have. This is a 10,000 foot view of this, because I don't have children. Most of my friends don't have children. I don't see the ins and outs of what that looks like for families right now. But I have the concerns that, like, children don't get very sick from coronavirus 99.9% of the time.
Exactly.
It is, but they can carry it.
Oh, yeah.
And they can have, minor symptoms. But before those households are vaccinated, that's why I think this argument about the parents not getting the vaccine, they're the ones that are going to be at risk, not their children.
Exactly.
Like, if we take Tillamook in particular, Tillamook County, they're at a medium risk level for the state of Oregon. And as soon as they reopened their schools, they went to an extreme risk level because they filled their hospitals.
Right.
And the kids themselves aren't getting sick, but it's going to be the adults in those children's lives
because they're walking petri dishes
that are going to get affected by that. Yeah. My sister-in-law is a teacher, and I think teachers need and maybe should even be a part of the 1A category at this point versus the 1B category in Oregon. But the households that this could potentially affect, if not done safely and properly, how many kids are going to be bringing COVID-19 home to their susceptible parents or grandparents?
Exactly.
Or that's what really scares me. And I don't have an answer or
there's
solution, but that's what scares me.
Research out of some schools in the nation, like in New York, who have reopened without generating super spreader events.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what everyone, like the pro, just like get them, like whatever, the clacked school parents or something that just are like, they're very loud, and they're very like, they're putting like tremendous pressure on the district, are, one subset of, they're one group of people who have a certain whatever level of belief, and they don't really care about anything else except for what they want. So there is data showing that you can do this safely. And I think if we didn't have a vaccine on the horizon, this could be something that we should be talking about and moving forward with, because like we really cannot keep our kids sequestered for longer than this.
The consequences of that are terrible too.
We have the goddamn vaccine. We have it. There is no reason to have your timeline 3 weeks sooner than when your teachers can have actual protection.
Yeah.
And I think their union polled, and like 75% of them don't want to be going back without their vaccine and their antibody mount. So what
are we doing?
Just, we've done this for 11 months. We can do it for one more.
Which goes to the point of, there's schools on the East Coast, there's schools in different states that have put together classrooms with good protocols and have not had super spreader events. It's the same thing with gyms. I mean, the statistical transmission rate in gyms, which you could argue because they've been closed, there's a lower rate.
But 30% of COVID cases aren't traced. So gyms aren't transmitting is kind of like,
to be fair though, then if 30% aren't traced, then you can't accept any of the statistics whatsoever. If you're going to throw out one, you have to throw out all of them.
True.
So not that I'm defensive about the gym, but more in the sense of just like there's a million other entities that have been fucking run over with this because of that. And yes, if 30% aren't traced because they don't ask the question, then you have to throw it all out because it's all a one way or the other leaning. You have no real conclusion there.
Right.
More to the point of the ones that have been open, that have instituted great protocols, gyms, schools, everything has basically been closed. The protocols for the health and wellness of the participants is still vitally important.
Valuable.
And, coincidentally or not, I still have a hard time buying that the flu is, flu transmission is down because, of social distance. It's like, yeah, but people are also being more conscientious about washing their hands, touching stuff, like,
wearing a mask.
Wearing a mask.
This is
right?
all we do to protect ourselves from the flu in the hospital.
Yeah.
Is wear a mask.
And that's where I kind of am like, okay, can we take... Everyone wants to go back to normal, no masks and all that kind of stuff, which fine, great, whatever. It's but the other side of that is we have seen other things reduce also that are triggers of, hey, if we take better care of our own personal hygiene and health, we're not getting sick with other stuff also. So when the vaccine's here and it becomes just as normal as like a measles shot when you're a kid, the kids that are born today, by the time they're 5, the COVID vaccine is probably one of their 5-pack, they get stabbed with. And it's just a normal thing for them. They won't know any different, right? Just like, a 3 people ago, 2 generations ago, polio, right? It's like it killed everybody at the turn of the century, and then all of a sudden, we got a polio vaccine.
Right.
Hey, guess what? Everybody that's like my mom's age, my dad's age, they don't anybody ever had polio because it was part of their deal. None of our kids have it or have ever been exposed to it. So if it becomes part of the norm, that's awesome because there will be something else.
There will.
But for me at least, the takeaway for the whole thing is if you're paying attention to your personal hygiene, you're paying attention to your personal health at a much more, I'd say, serious level, because it does have consequence. Wow, we're all a healthier, less transmitting society. That's not a bad thing. And I'm cautiously optimistic that we won't go back to being total fucking morons with washing our hands.
At least not all of us. But the mask that maybe we've learned a little bit, and that the vaccine, when it is here and readily available to everybody, we at least maintain some semblance of the discipline that we've learned thus far. And people don't go to the opposite side and just pull everything off and have a big, This will change everything forever to some extent.
I hope so, in a positive way.
There are parts of this that will never go away, just like those that lived through the Great Depression, how it changed their habits with spending and saving.
Changed our entire everything, Industrial Revolution, everything changed after. So, that's at least moving from here out. When we keep going, I really do hope that that's what comes out of this, because you guys, you're going to be the first ones to see the consequences of it one way or the other. Either numbers go down and you go back to normal emergencies of, hey, gunshots and
normal
car
chaos,
wrecks and,
normal
chaos.
It's definitely even at baseline without COVID. Like, my job is not any kind of walk in the park.
No,
any
it's
kind of
not
like,
easy.
we always have a struggle of where to put people and not enough space, and like, like ripping this like head bleed out of the room to make room for this trauma, and like, that's the game, that's the job,
right?
But I would love to just go back to that complexity without pandemic complexity layered on top of it.
Yeah. Well, and I know, you've been, so how long has it been for you up at OHSU?
Oh, 10. Actually, I'm having my 11-year birthday like right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So over a decade.
Yeah.
And obviously this being a health and fitness podcast, one of the things that I know you do a lot to decompress from that and all of this is work out. I mean, you have half of the gym on your front porch right now. But that, the physical outlet, can't articulate, or you don't want to articulate, you don't have time to cry, all that kind of shit, but you're not compounding it with other activities that are harmful to your body and your psyche. You utilize fitness extremely well. So do you. Obviously you just got your super soldier thing. You're like, cool, let's go for a hike. And the first thing you guys kind of default to is, physical activity.
Yes,
absolutely.
I don't think it's a coincidence that you're successful in your career path and you're successful in the specific job that you have, not just because, I mean, a lot of people are successful in different careers, but your job is so hyper intensive.
Yeah.
It seems
and
to go
physical.
and
like,
physical.
Yeah, I was gonna say part of it is you
physical
have
fitness from here keeps me safe physically
at
there.
work. Yeah. 100% agree with
Like
that.
I don't have back pain. I
Right.
have like I'm like super strong. I can lift and you know the ER is a place where we do not get extra resources like the ceiling lifts to like lift to
Move
physically
people.
like bring people up and turn them and move them. Like we use our bodies to move patients, whether they're 200 pounds, whether they're 90 pounds, or whether they're 470 pounds or 700 pounds. We use our bodies to move those people. And so I am very lucky to like just have like a good, strong body to be able
Right.
to do my job.
Well, you're not lucky. You earned it. You built it.
I built it. Yeah.
It's
yes.
necessary though. It's a necessary part of this job. And if you
Yeah.
want to work
With longevity.
with longevity,
You gotta work out.
You've got to stay physically strong.
Yeah.
Well, and
And the people, dude.
Yeah,
The
I
people
mean, it's-
part. Like that's what brings me in here. Like I've been a runner my whole life. I still because I haven't been in here, I'm back to running, which I do really actually appreciate. I've gotten like a re-up in my love of running,
Nice.
Which has been awesome. And I think I will carry it forward like into 2021 and really like remingle the two or remarry the two of like lifting and running. But I miss the people part so much.
Yeah.
Like just being in here and just
The community of it
shooting
all.
shit and pitching shit and taking shit and like, but really just loving on each other, you know?
Yeah.
in a constructive and, well, like you'd say healthy
Not
way.
always
We would say
appropriate.
Not
healthy.
always appropriate.
Inappropriate has nothing to do with healthy. But no, I mean it's a constructive path to getting one, you home from work every day.
Yeah.
But two, just both of you guys like maintaining your mental fitness
Oh yeah.
as well. I mean it's the pre-pandemic. I mean there are plenty of times both of you come in and it was a shitty shift. And there wasn't a whole lot of chatter in here. It was more just physical exertion to kind of flush that out, and then back to regularly scheduled shit talking programming. But being able to see the value that has, how. I mean, you don't have kids other than
No.
Paul, but I know with your 3 kids, fitness is not even a. It's not even a question mark. It's a requirement because and as does Mike. You need to be a healthy mind, or to have a healthy mind, you got to have a healthy body.
Yep.
And
I just had this speech with the kids when we skied. We're doing a thing like every Wednesday we're skiing.
Nice.
Because they have school until 9 a.m. Like they start at 8 and they're
Until
done
9.
at 9.
Okay.
Chloe's not done till 11, so we don't leave the house. But we are like pulling out the driveway at 11:07. Like she's done, and then she's like in her snow pants on her screen, and then she's like, "Let's go." Anyway, so we were driving back, and they had this ripping good day. Oh my god, it was like just so much fun, and they were just in that elated state of like a good day on the mountain, and like they were jumping shit and like ripping, and so I was like, you guys, I just want to take a minute to like have you appreciate your bodies. Like you had this amazing fun day, and we met up with one dad and then their best friends. Like his 3 kids are like exactly our 3 kids' ages, and there's just nothing better in life than skiing with your buddies.
Yeah.
And they can like ride the chair by themselves, and oh my god. So I was like, you guys, you got to have this amazing time on this amazing mountain and like with your friends because you have healthy, strong bodies.
Right.
And I was like, you have worked for these bodies. Like I birthed your bodies, but then you have worked these bodies to be really strong since you were tiny little kids, and you fuel your bodies with healthy food, and you do the right thing for your bodies. And I just like, and they totally took it in and were like, and then actually like thanked me for all the gymnastics that we pay for, all the like soccer camps and all the shit that we do for them. But ultimately, like I feel so strongly about it that like this, you get one body.
You do.
You get one body for your
have
whole
one
life.
shot.
So tune it to what you want to do with it, like,
Right.
and love it and respect it and enjoy it. Oh my God. Like have great sex with your body.
Yeah.
Like have an amazing time, like throw down on a 50K trail run just because you got invited and you're like, sure. Like, you can do
and
that.
you're batshit crazy.
Which is nuts.
Because you like with some baseline fitness, you can do so much. And that's what I love about this gym is that this is all about functional fitness. Like
the perfect foundation.
I get a little sucked into the board and the numbers.
Yes, you do.
I mean,
it's fun.
Because it's fun for sure. But I've never been one of those. I mean, because people get like. People go way into the numbers, and I'm like, I don't really fucking care. I don't want to do a 1 rep max on anything because what's that going to do for me in my life?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how much I can squat one time. I want to know how much I can squat 8 times in a row.
Right.
Because on a trail, in a race, like in an uphill battle, when I'm like burning and the lactate is winning, I need to push. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I
need
want.
that kick.
That's what I want in my workout, and that's what I get here.
Yeah.
That's what I miss so much.
Well, it's coming back. I mean, you do have the porch
So
version,
close.
you know, but I mean, you've been a little more active with being able to keep up with that. And then plus you and Paul, your vacations are almost fitness centric.
Well, no,
Yeah.
everything we do, like any of the trips we take, any of our outings, like we are outdoor enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Like my body has got to be able to do 18 miles a day straight up and down.
Right.
For me to find happiness.
Yeah.
Like that is my recreation. I don't run. It hurts. I don't like it. Running is hard for me.
You were a base runner, like it is short bursts.
Yeah, but I will go out and put in 18 miles on the trail, climb a vertical mile, hurdle over rocks and through canyons and cross river crossings. Like that is my drug.
Right.
Joy.
It's my drug, and that is what I train for.
Yeah.
I need to be strong. I need to have endurance. I need to have short bursts of cardio. You know, nothing like running. You know, 50K, like nothing like that, but like short bursts of cardio, and I find that here. Like I can train for that here.
Right.
And I also train for that strength in my job because I've been at the bedside in the ICU for just about 5 years, and even people I started with have already had to leave the bedside due to injuries. You know, are pursuing advanced practice nurse degrees, not just because they want to, but also because it's a hard job.
They can't hold up. Yeah.
They don't see themselves being able to do it for 10 or 15 or 20 years. And I never knew if being an ICU nurse was going to be the thing for me in the long run. Believe it or not, COVID, I think it's proven that this is probably what I'm going to do for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying that because a year ago I probably wouldn't have.
Right.
But I need to be ready for that. And that's what I find here. And then the people, like the mental health side of it, and not just being able to like do something really hard, proving to yourself that I did that and I didn't die. I actually feel great. You know, that's really important. But like getting to have that interaction with even just a couple people, and that pushing and that sharing and the jokes and the laughter, like that is what I need in my life on a regular basis to be able to do what I do.
Yeah. And you guys have, I mean, you're both sport background, you know, but I mean, obviously, eventually I'm sure you guys will have kids. Right now it's just the cats, but you know, the model will be set for the kids. That's hey, here, no, we're active, we're going, because active, fit is an interesting word. I've been kind of kicking this around for a few weeks now of like, well, what is fit, right? Because I mean, fit could be, I could, you know, crush a 620 2K, but have we were just talking in-body scans, you know, it's like I could have a 18% body fat. Am I there? Or and 300 cholesterol? Is that where you were at?
Yeah, no, my cholesterol is almost 300
Holy
this
cow.
year. Yeah, familial hyperlipidemia.
Yeah.
So
I don't advise it for anyone.
No, but I mean, to the point of like what is fit and what, you know, it's like, you could have great performance numbers, but not be healthy.
Yeah.
You know, and so, or you could be super healthy and man, you're, you know, carrying an extra 20 pounds you don't need to be carrying. And that, you know, that adds other long term. I think that's a harder position to have because it that provides more wear and tear. You know, the less effective mass you're holding on to is just more wear on the joints, you know, and eventually those brake pads wear out. And I just, when you came back with your numbers, you know, we were talking about that earlier, it's like, and Paul's numbers obviously too, it's like, Yeah, I mean, nobody would ever look at you guys and be like, "No, you're not fit. You know, you're not unhealthy." But it's like, "Oh no, you got."
Well, it's because I'm not. I am healthy and I am fit. Paul's not.
Oh right, oh yeah.
Just kidding, babe.
We got a whole thing going with that. Paul's got the firefighter fitness challenge that's starting, right? So he's trying to kind of like lean that starting line number a little bit higher so that he can have more of a loss. And I think he went a little bit past what he thought he was going to go. So he's a little bit higher at the start than he thought he was going to be.
That being said, though, like my in-body scan that I did, I was up several pounds of muscle, down several pounds of fat, yet I wear this whoop every day, and I can build cardiac strain in half the time it takes Paul to, because his cardiovascular endurance is so much greater than mine.
Yeah. And that's where it gets hard to define, is like what's
it's very
who's,
gray.
Who's fitter, who's
yeah, I mean, it's all about what brings you joy, right?
Yeah.
So like if for Kayla it's like the long slog, like hike through all the mountains and the rivers and the peaks and the valleys and everything, like then you build your fitness around that. And so
you're kind of the weird one. Because you have that cardio capacity to go do that 50
the long stuff
fucking K.
Yeah.
Kind of at the drop of a hat. So, I mean, you've been running, but not really like, I mean, you were running more to get ready for Boston than you were for Wildwood, right? I mean,
yeah.
But you've got that capacity to be able to just go do it. If you trained for it, maybe you were a little bit faster.
I think I think I can just say, thank you, Dad. Like, you gave me something that like allows me to just do this.
Yeah.
So there's like a little bit of a natural ability for endurance for me.
Some predisposition probably.
And then I think like you just have like a lifetime built, right? I've been running competitively since I was 11.
Yeah.
I'm 42.
Yeah.
Like that's a long time.
Well, it's so like building lactic threshold. It takes time. You can't cheat
even like
that.
being
It takes mileage.
off my fitness during the pandemic for sure. Apparently I had a level of base fitness that was like carried me through.
And most people would be like, that'd be a lifetime PR. And that's why I say you're kind of weird, because you've also got a lot of power that you can produce, like in your lifts.
Yeah.
And which is not normally, like, people don't think those two things can coexist. You're kind of the same way, even though you don't like to do the long duration cardio, but you can do intervals for days.
I can do intervals all day long.
And it's kind of it's an interesting thing to see, because neither of you are a certain mold, as far as like, oh, well, it's this kind of, any one thing. And the complementary side of that is the power that you can produce in here results in, I've got that kick for the last 4 miles on a 50K, which I know I just blended kilometers and miles well. but you know what I mean, right? And it's like, and you built that over time because you earned that capacity, because you built like that threshold.
Being okay in the pain cave. Like I was in the pain cave.
And that's mental.
I'm not going to pretend that this was all like stars
unicorns and rainbows.
No, no, it was unicorns and rainbows for like a while, and then it was not. But that was the fucking point, right? Like I actually, these two women that I did this run with, one of them is she's insane. She's not insane. She's amazing. I love her. She's a physician. She in the ER, like she does 100 miles. She did the like Colorado 100 mile like through the peaks.
Oh yeah, the 14er.
Just like that's her. So, and then the other woman has a 9-month-old baby. This was her 9th 50K. Ooh. She's also a badass. They're like amazing. So seriously? I was like, well, how do I say no to you people? But I actually did say no to them. I was like, you guys, I was gonna train, and then I didn't train, and so I'm out. Like I'm not gonna go with you. And then Lainey, the 100-miler one, was she like line hooked and like just got me, because she said, 2020, I just want to do this. It's going to be hard, and I think you can do it. And she's like, I just want to close out 2020 in the pain cave, because it was such a hard year.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to, like, we're just going to close it out in the pain cave. And I was like, okay, fine, I'm in. So I did.
Really twisted your arm.
Yeah. So then I was like back in, and it's like exactly what it was. But it actually like was definitely not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Good.
And it really hurt. I was fine at mile 20, and then I was totally not fine at mile 25.
And with mile 25, you still had 7 miles to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I mean, that's the mental game, right?
Yeah.
But you built that, not just with work, but
at
also.
Mile 27, I got like a re-up, because I was like, I was like, guys,
I'm almost done.
No, it was like, this is the farthest I've ever run in my life because I've done like lots of
Straight through.
26.2.
Yeah.
But I'd never done like past that. And so I was like all woo. And then that little endorphin bump just went. And then I was like, okay, I gotta just, I'm gonna hang back. So I'm like, you guys just, I'm gonna be back here in my space.
Yeah.
Just in my,
Right, left.
Right here.
Right, left.
I can only go 1 foot at a time.
Yeah.
And that 28 to 30, whatever one was
Miserable.
pure suffering.
Yeah.
Pure total. I wanted to lay down in the dirt in a ball and like have somebody find me maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe, or just leave me there for a while.
I was saying, I'm good, really. No,
Yeah.
hypothermia, no, it's fine. Send the wolves. Like, I'm good.
You
but
get-
that's the beauty of it is like just
You get that on a hard
grinding
night,
it
too.
out,
Yeah.
you know, and like getting it done,
Yeah.
even though it hurts.
Yeah.
Which obviously translates to work too, because I mean, you can't just pull the ripcord and be like, cool,
No.
midway through a shift,
Oh,
now
no.
I'm done.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
there's times at work where like I had a really nasty code that didn't go the way I hoped it would or something that you just want to sit down and stop working for that day. You're like, I am done. You don't
Or
get
in
to
the
do
PPE,
that.
like I've taken care of.
You still have 8 hours.
Honestly, like the 40. Well, there's been a lot of COVID patients who've been really, really hard. Just the physicality of like
Taking care of them.
and in the ER, you guys in the ICU, I think work a lot just by yourself in the room.
We're always by ourselves.
And you have like a like a person that maybe circulates every so often. But in the ER, we are like a team, and so we're typically, especially on the most critically ill patients, we are like a bunch of bodies in the room working together. But with COVID, we have to preserve PPE, and so we are not. And also these people are so sick, and there are no ICU beds, so they are stuck in the ER, and so we are staying 1-to-1 with them the way that the nurses in the ICU do.
Right.
And then kind of you just like wave your hand when you need stuff, and
Yeah.
someone brings you the stuff, and then you do your thing. And so I've stayed in full gear for 6 straight hours with the patient, with no water, needing to go to the bathroom, no bathroom, like
No water, no breaks.
and like I do get moments of sort of like, I don't want to say suffocation because that's too much.
Almost
It's not-
claustrophobia.
yeah,
but
just
from
like
the work.
I just want to take some breaths without this fucking shit on my face.
Right.
Because I have my P100, and then I have a surgical mask on the exhale port as source control, and then I have a face shield on top of that, and then I have my like scrub cap, and then I have the gown, and I'm just like dripping sweat underneath
completely
it,
soaked underneath.
and and you're just going and trying to keep this person alive. And there definitely been times where I just want to come out. I just need 1 minute. I just need like 2 sips of water, and I'll be right back in. But you can't, because
Right.
then you're like throwing away all this PPE.
It's
plus your
15 minutes
patient,
just to
2 minutes without me there doing things on
They're
that
gonna
person.
die.
They're gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
have
your
to,
mile 28 to 31.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's like a lot of the days in the ICU, in the ER right now. Like that's what we're experiencing at work many of the days that we're there now.
So
that's why this is important.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because your base fitness, just the actual fitness of physically being able to do it, but then the mindset of now.
mindset is
What
everything.
I find interesting is you identify that you need that break. Like you're acknowledging, I need to fucking stop, but you can't.
Right.
Right. You're not lying to yourself or like
Right.
telling yourself, or like mile 28, 29, 30, 31. It's
yeah.
like you're not telling yourself some fairy tale of
Nope.
like, no, I'm great, I'm good. Da, da, da.
Right.
It's like you're better off acknowledging I'm burning out, but I got to finish this, or I got to take
Yep.
this next step, or I
Yep.
got to, because you
It
can't
won't
just
last forever.
it won't
Yeah.
right. It won't last forever, and it you got to get through that last little break point, right? I mean, that's something you've honed over 40 plus years. You know, you're 30 plus, and that's a skill set. You know, but people, I think, I wonder whether it's in the gym or out in the real world, are afraid of that because they feel like, oh, if I acknowledge that I might not make it through this,
Embrace the suck.
embrace the suck, right? The pain cave. You sought out said pain cave.
Yeah.
You found it at mile 27 and a half.
Yeah.
And you knew it was coming, but you did it
Yep.
anyways.
Yep.
And you didn't quit.
With full on fear of rhabdo, because
Yeah, that's a lot.
Seriously.
I've put myself into rhabdo before, being an idiot, and I was full on like I mean, I was, every time I peed in the bushes, I was like, like not just a squat to pee, but like I'm like looking, like is it clear? Is it like is it Coca-Cola coming out
My
of there?
peeing ketones, oh dear.
So, yeah, like I was really nervous that I was gonna put myself into. I mean, I've put myself into rhabdo for a much lesser run. Well, but I was really stupid. I was sick. I was sick. I ran.
Oh, you were ill.
I was sick. Yeah,
Oh.
I'd been like real sick for days, and like I was like, oh, I missed this 18-mile run. I gotta do it. So like the first day that I wasn't vomiting and having
Malnourished and
diarrhea,
hard crank.
I like did this 18-mile run and still had diarrhea like in the middle of the run, and that was bad.
We all learned, don't
And
we?
did I go to the ER?
Of course not.
No.
No.
Of course not.
Did I pee in baby food jars and like keep it on the counter and like watch it, make sure it was clearing? Yes, I did.
On that note, no, but I mean, it's you guys do a remarkable job in here and outside of here of whether it's COVID, work, or the workouts. It's not about the 50 steps to the finish. It's about the next step, and not all those steps are created equal. And at least on my end of things, watching your guys's just psychological well-being and just even your interactivity via social media, text, in gym conversations, it feels like, to your Wildwood example, it feels like we're about mile 28 right now.
I would say exactly
we're
that.
not
Exactly
done.
where we are.
This is the worst part.
And-
the worst
and not the
part
time
is
to
right
quit.
in front of
Yeah.
our faces.
Yeah.
This is it. This is
But
this
we're on
is
the back
pain
end of
cave.
it.
But we're in the pain cave, but we've done the
We
heavy
are
lifting.
so
We've
close to the finish.
We've earned this opportunity to cross the finish
Yes.
line. We just got to do it.
But we got to get
We gotta
through
get there.
the suck first, meaning like it's not time to like throw our clothes off and
Right.
party quite yet.
Right.
Which
quite.
I really want to do.
I really want to do that as
really
well.
do.
That will be happening when
That'll
it's
be-
time.
that'll be- yeah.
Like I want to dance on a bar with like a crowd of people and just like take shots.
Just take
and
shots. And,
dance.
Yeah.
And I told my husband and my neighbors, I was like, yeah, I want to throw down. Like
Yeah.
I want to get wild.
Cigars and
like,
whiskey.
I want to
Yeah.
maybe somebody's gonna throw me in a psych room that night for mania because that's like how crazy I want to get.
Yeah.
But
Not yet.
Not yet.
Almost there.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Mile 28. We still got
Gotta
a few to
cross
go.
Gotta push
the finish
through.
line first.
Got to push through.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Love it. You guys crushed it.